The house looked perfect. String lights cascaded across the back patio, casting a warm amber glow over the garden where nearly 50 guests would soon gather. I adjusted the last of the flower arrangements on the outdoor tables, stepping back to admire 10 years of marriage commemorated in elegant simplicity. Everything was ready, or so I thought. "Honey, I hope you don't mind, but I invited Derek from work," my wife announced casually, emerging from the house with a tray of appetizers. "He's been such a huge help with planning lately." I felt my jaw tighten. Derek. The name I'd been hearing constantly for the past 3 months. Derek suggested this caterer. Derek knew a great DJ. Derek had connections with the best florists. Every conversation about our anniversary party had somehow circled back to what Derek thought, what Derek recommended, what Derek would do. "Of course you did," I muttered, rearranging the same flowers I'd just perfected. "What was that?" She stopped, her expression sharp. "Nothing. It's fine." But it wasn't fine. This was supposed to be our celebration, our decade together, our achievement, our guests. Yet somehow, this coworker I'd never met had infiltrated every aspect of the planning, offering opinions and suggestions that my wife treated like golden wisdom. The first guests began arriving around 6. My parents, her sister's family, college friends we hadn't seen in years, neighbors who'd watched our relationship grow from newlyweds to an established couple. The party came alive with laughter and music, with toasts and reminiscing. I was pouring wine for my old roommate when I noticed him. Derek stood near the entrance, not awkwardly hovering like a stranger, but surveying the scene like a general assessing his troops. He was younger than I expected, maybe 30, with perfectly styled hair and an expensive-looking blazer that screamed, "I make more money than you." My wife rushed over immediately, greeting him with a warmth that made something cold settle in my chest. She brought him directly to me. "Sweetheart, this is Derek. Derek, this is my husband." His handshake was firm, almost aggressive. "Great to finally meet you. Your wife talks about you constantly. I feel like I already know everything about you." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Funny," I replied, matching his grip. "I've heard plenty about you too." My wife laughed nervously. "Derek, let me introduce you around. You'll love everyone here." As they walked away, I noticed how she touched his arm, guiding him through the crowd. How he leaned in close when she spoke, his hand occasionally finding the small of her back. My stomach churned. The party progressed, but I couldn't shake the growing irritation. Derek wasn't just mingling, he was performing. Every conversation he joined became about him. Every story someone told, he had a better one. When my father mentioned his recent fishing trip, Derek launched into an elaborate tale about deep-sea fishing in Costa Rica. When my sister-in-law talked about her kids' school, Derek explained his theories on modern education reform. But what really got under my skin was how he kept managing things. He moved the speaker system without asking. He rearranged the food table because the flow wasn't optimal. He even started directing people where to sit, as if he were the host. "Maybe the birthday toast should wait until after dinner," he suggested to my wife, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "The energy will be better." "It's an anniversary, not a birthday," I corrected sharply. Derek's smile never wavered. "Right, of course. Anniversary. Even more reason to time it perfectly." My wife squeezed my hand. "He's just trying to help, honey." That word. Help. As if I needed help celebrating my own marriage. As if I hadn't planned weddings, parties, and celebrations before Derek swooped in with his unsolicited expertise. I poured myself another drink, watching Derek work the crowd like a politician. He had positioned himself at the center of everything, and my wife orbited around him like a satellite. When had this happened? When had she started treating some coworker like an essential part of our lives? The rage built slowly, deliberately, like pressure in a sealed container. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that something was going to give tonight. The party reached its peak around 8 o'clock. The DJ, Derek's recommendation, naturally, had guests dancing on the patio. The catering, also Derek's choice, was admittedly excellent, though I'd never give him the satisfaction of saying so. I stood near the bar, watching my anniversary party unfold like a show I was no longer starring in. Derek had just finished explaining wine pairings to my wine enthusiast uncle, somehow managing to make a retired sommelier look uninformed. My blood pressure climbed with each passing minute. "You seem tense." My best friend, James, appeared beside me with 2 beers. "On a scale of 1 to 10, how close are you to losing it?" 11, I admitted, accepting the bottle gratefully. The co-worker. I watched Derek adjust the outdoor heater placement, moving it 3 feet to the left as if those 3 feet would revolutionize everyone's comfort. "He's been here 2 hours and he's rearranged my entire party." James followed my gaze. "And your wife is completely oblivious. Or worse, she thinks it's helpful." I took a long drink. "Do you know how many times I've heard Derek says in the past 3 months? Derek says we should use this caterer. Derek says the invitations should be embossed. Derek says. I'm starting to think Derek should have just married her himself." "Have you talked to her about it?" "Every time I try, I'm being insecure or territorial. Apparently, I should be grateful someone cares enough to help us throw a proper party." The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. That's when I saw him do it. Derek pulled out a folded paper from his jacket pocket and started checking items off a list. A list. For my party. He walked over to my wife, pointing at something on the paper, and she nodded enthusiastically before hurrying toward the house. Something inside me snapped. I set down my beer and walked straight toward Derek, weaving through dancing guests with single-minded purpose. James called after me, but I was done. Done being sidelined at my own celebration. Done watching this stranger puppeteer my wife. Done pretending everything was fine. Derek looked up as I approached, that perpetual smile still plastered on his face. "Hey! Great party, man. Really coming together nicely." "You know what, Derek?" The words came out louder than intended. Several nearby conversations paused. "Since you've basically planned this entire thing, and you clearly have such strong opinions about how it should run, why don't you just take over completely? Go ahead, take charge." His smile faltered for just a second.
"I'm sorry."
"You heard me. You're obviously the expert here. The master of ceremonies. The real host." I gestured broadly to the party around us. "Please, don't let me stop you from orchestrating our anniversary exactly how you envision it. I'll just step aside and let the professional work." My wife materialized from the crowd, her face flushed with embarrassment. "What are you doing?" "Solving a problem. Honey. Derek here has been so incredibly helpful with planning. He should get to enjoy the fruits of his labor. Derek, the party is yours. Make all the decisions. You've been doing it all night anyway." "I think there's been a misunderstanding," Derek started. "No misunderstanding at all. You want to move the speakers? Move them. You want to change the music? Change it. You want to give a toast about our marriage? By all means, enlighten us all." The sarcasm dripped from every word. A crowd had formed now, guests watching with the horrified fascination usually reserved for car accidents. My parents looked mortified. My wife's face had gone from red to pale. And Derek? Derek's expression shifted. The friendly, helpful mask slipped away, replaced by something calculating. He looked at my wife, then back at me, and then, to my absolute shock, he smiled again, but this time it was different. Colder. More confident. "You know what? I appreciate that. I really do." He straightened his blazer. "Since you're offering, there are a few things I'd like to address. First, the evening schedule is running behind. We should have done the toast 30 minutes ago." "Derek, you don't have to," my wife began. No. He's right. I've put in the work, I might as well see it through properly." He pulled out his phone, checking something. "Let's get everyone gathered. I'll coordinate the toast, then we'll do the cake. Yes, I ordered a backup cake because I wasn't confident in the bakery choice, and then we'll transition to the photo montage I prepared." "You prepared a photo montage?" My wife looked confused. I thought we decided against that. I took the liberty of putting one together anyway. Professional quality. You'll love it. He was already moving, clapping his hands to get attention. Everyone. If I could have your attention, please. The music lowered. Guests turned toward him expectantly. And just like that, Derek seized control of my anniversary party with terrifying efficiency. He directed people to gather around the cake table, repositioned the photographer I'd hired, and even instructed the DJ on what music to play as a backdrop. I stood frozen, watching my sarcastic challenge backfire spectacularly. I'd meant to expose how ridiculous his involvement was. Instead, I'd apparently given him exactly what he wanted, complete authority over the evening. My wife gripped my arm, her nails digging in. "Fix this," she hissed. "Right now." But it was too late. Derek had a microphone now. Where had he even gotten a microphone? And he was tapping it for attention. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he began, his voice smooth and commanding. "Before we celebrate this beautiful couple, I'd like to share a few words about the journey that brought us to this moment. My journey. My marriage. My anniversary." And Derek was narrating it like he'd been there all along. Derek's voice carried across the patio with practiced ease, like he'd given 1,000 speeches before. "Marriage is about partnership," he said into the microphone, his eyes scanning the crowd. "About two people working together to build something greater than themselves. But it's also about recognizing when you need help, when you need support from people who understand you." My wife's grip on my arm loosened slightly. She was listening, actually listening, like his words held some profound truth instead of being the generic platitudes they were. "I've had the privilege of working closely with this amazing woman for the past year," Derek continued, gesturing toward my wife with his free hand. "Watching her juggle her career, her personal life, her ambitions. And I've seen how hard she works to make everything perfect, including tonight." People were nodding. My mother had her hand over her heart. This was going wrong in ways I hadn't anticipated. I'd expected him to embarrass himself by overstepping. Instead, he was winning the crowd. "But here's what I've learned about true partnership," Derek's tone shifted, becoming more serious. "It requires investment. Real investment. Time, energy, resources. And sometimes, the people closest to us don't fully appreciate what that means." Wait. Was he criticizing me? At my own party? My wife's hand fell away from my arm completely. "That's why I wanted to do something special tonight. Something that shows what happens when someone really commits to making magic happen." He nodded to someone near the house, a young woman I didn't recognize, who immediately went inside. "Who is that?" I whispered to my wife. "Derek's assistant, I think." I didn't know she was coming." The assistant returned with a laptop and projection screen, moving with the efficiency of someone who'd rehearsed this moment. She set up quickly while Derek kept talking, filling the time with more observations about dedication and partnership that felt increasingly pointed. When the screen flickered to life, my stomach dropped. The photo montage that appeared wasn't just pictures of my wife and me throughout our marriage. It was interspersed with images I'd never seen before, my wife and Derek at company events, at restaurants, at what looked like a weekend conference in wine country. Photos of them laughing together, working late at the office, standing close at some cocktail party. "These are moments of true collaboration," Derek narrated as the images scrolled past. "When two people are in sync, working toward common goals, supporting each other's visions." "Turn it off." I didn't realize I'd spoken aloud until heads turned toward me. Derek paused, lowering the microphone slightly. "Excuse me." I said, "Turn it off. This isn't appropriate." I started moving toward the laptop, but Derek's assistant stepped between us, her body language making it clear she wasn't going to let me near the equipment. My wife was staring at the screen, her face unreadable. "Derek, where did you get these photos?" "From your phone, mostly. And mine. Remember, you gave me access to your cloud storage when we were putting together the client presentation last month." He said it casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world. A murmur rippled through the guests. My father stepped forward. Now hold on a minute. Dad, I've got this. But I didn't have it. I didn't have anything. The party had spun completely out of my control. Derek continued his presentation, each image feeling like a small invasion. There were my wife and him at lunch spots I recognized, places she'd told me she was meeting clients. There they were at a hotel bar, both dressed up, glasses of wine in hand. When is this from? I asked my wife directly, pointing at the hotel image. The Chicago conference. In September. You knew I was there. You didn't mention Derek was there. It's a company event. Half the office was there. But in the photo, it was just the two of them, and they looked less like colleagues and more like something else. Derek, sensing the shift in energy, tried to regain control. The point of showing these is to demonstrate the importance of professional relationships, of having people in your corner who what? My uncle's voice boomed across the patio. He'd had a few drinks, and subtlety wasn't his strong suit even when sober. Who buy backup cakes without telling the hosts? Who crash anniversary parties and give speeches about someone else's wife? What exactly are you demonstrating here, son? Derek's confident expression cracked slightly. I think you're misunderstanding the nature. We're not misunderstanding anything, James interjected, moving to stand beside me. You've been inappropriate all evening. And this slideshow. This is beyond inappropriate. My wife's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, frowned, then looked up at Derek with an expression I'd never seen before, something between confusion and dawning realization. Did you just send me a calendar invite? For a breakfast meeting tomorrow? Well, yes. We need to debrief about the Henderson account, and I figured. You figured you'd schedule a meeting with me during my anniversary party. Her voice rose, while showing photos of us to my family and friends. Derek's assistant whispered something urgent in his ear. He glanced at his phone, and for the first time that evening, he looked genuinely rattled. What's going on? My wife demanded. The DJ, who'd been watching this entire scene unfold with increasing discomfort, suddenly spoke up. Hey man, I just got a Venmo request from you for tonight's services. But the contract was with. He checked his phone. With the couple. Not you. Why are you trying to pay my invoice? All eyes turned to Derek. And the caterer just texted me, one of the servers added, looking confused. Asking if Derek approved the final head count? I thought you two were the hosts. She gestured to my wife and me. My wife pulled out her phone again, scrolling rapidly. Her face went white. Derek, why do you have access to my credit card? There are charges here I didn't make. The flowers, these aren't the flowers I ordered. This backup cake he mentioned, it's charged to my card. The upgraded DJ package. It's all for the party. I was enhancing the experience, making sure everything was perfect. Derek's polished demeanor was crumbling. You said you wanted it to be special, and I delivered special. You should be thanking me. The party had gone completely silent except for the soft music still playing in the background. Even that felt wrong now, intrusive. My father-in-law pushed through the crowd. Let me see that phone. He studied my wife's screen, his expression darkening. These charges go back months. This isn't just party expenses. Restaurant bills. Shopping. A weekend at some spa resort. That was for work. Derek insisted. Team building. Team building that she paid for. My voice came out strangled. What the hell have you been doing? Derek straightened, attempting to reassemble his authority. I've been helping your wife achieve her full potential. Something you clearly haven't been capable of doing. The words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. My wife stepped forward, phone clutched in her hand, and I saw something in her eyes that made my heart race. Not embarrassment, not defensiveness, but pure, crystallizing fury. Derek, she said quietly, dangerously, I think you need to leave. Now. Derek didn't leave. If anything, my wife's demand seemed to embolden him, as if he'd been waiting for this moment all along. His expression shifted from rattled to righteously indignant, his posture straightening like a man preparing to make his final stand. Leave? After everything I've done? After all the time I've invested in you? He wasn't even trying to lower his voice anymore. The microphone hung forgotten in his hand, but he didn't need it. His voice carried across the silent patio with crystal clarity. Do you have any idea how many hours I've spent making you look good at work? Covering for you when you were late because of personal issues? Coaching you through presentations while he, Derek, jabbed a finger in my direction, couldn't even be bothered to remember your work anniversaries or important meetings. My wife's face flushed crimson. That's not. You offered to help. I never asked you to. You never asked me to stop either, did you? Derek's laugh was bitter. Every suggestion I made, you took it. Every invitation to lunch, to coffee, to strategy sessions, you showed up. You gave me your passwords, your credit card, access to your calendar. You think that happened by accident? The crowd had pressed closer, no one even pretending not to listen anymore. This was no longer an awkward party moment. It was a full-scale disaster playing out in real time. My mother-in-law grabbed my wife's arm. Honey, what is he talking about? What passwords? My wife's voice cracked. I gave him access to some work accounts. 4 projects. It was professional. Professional. Derek scoffed. Is that what we're calling it? Tell them about the passwords you gave me. Your email. Your personal cloud storage. Your banking app because I was helping you track expenses for the party. My blood turned to ice. You gave him access to your bank accounts. It was just to coordinate vendors. He said it would be easier if he could pay directly and I could reimburse him. She stopped, realization washing over her features. Oh my God. You weren't paying and getting reimbursed. You were just spending my money. Derek's assistant, who'd been inching toward the exit, suddenly spoke up. I tried to tell you. Last week, I tried to warn you. She looked at my wife with something like pity. I quit working for him 2 days ago. I couldn't. What he was doing wasn't right. The way he talked about you, about this whole setup. Shut up, Nicole. Derek's voice went cold. You signed an NDA. An NDA doesn't cover fraud, Derek. Or whatever this is. Nicole turned to my wife. He has a whole folder on his computer. Everything about you. Your schedule, your habits, your marriage. He's been documenting everything. He called it project replacement. The patio erupted in shocked murmurs. Someone gasped audibly. I felt James's hand grip my shoulder, probably to keep me from lunging at Derek. Project replacement. I repeated, my voice deadly quiet. What the hell does that mean? Derek's mask finally shattered completely. What emerged underneath wasn't the smooth professional or even the controlling manipulator. It was something desperate and unhinged. It means I saw an opportunity. A woman clearly undervalued by her husband, stuck in a mediocre marriage, settling for someone who doesn't appreciate her potential. I saw someone I could help, someone who could help me in return. We could have been a great team, better than great. A power couple. But I needed her to see that first. See how much better life could be with the right partner. So you, what? Tried to make yourself indispensable. My wife's voice shook with fury and something else, fear, maybe, at how thoroughly she'd been manipulated. You made me dependent on you. Made me think I needed you. You don't need me. Look at tonight. I planned everything, coordinated everything. Would it have been this good without me? Would anything in your life be this good without me? Derek was spiraling now, his carefully constructed facade completely demolished. He doesn't support your ambitions. He doesn't understand your career. He doesn't even notice when you've worked late or crushed a presentation. But I do. I always do. My father stepped forward, his lawyer instincts kicking in. Son, I'd stop talking right now if I were you. Especially the part about accessing bank accounts and credit cards without permission. That's fraud. Possibly identity theft. It's not fraud if she gave me access. Derek shot back. Under false pretenses, it absolutely is. My father pulled out his phone. I think we need to call the police. No. My wife's voice cracked like a whip. Not yet. Not. She took a shaky breath. Derek, show me your phone. Right now. Absolutely not. Show me your phone. Each word came out like a hammer strike. If you really believe everything you did was above board and professional, prove it. Show me these supposed project replacement files. For a long moment, Derek just stood there, clearly calculating his options. The party guests had formed a loose circle around us, trapping him in. His assistant Nicole blocked one exit. James and my father blocked another. There was nowhere to run. Slowly, with visible reluctance, Derek pulled out his phone. But instead of handing it over, he started tapping frantically. He's deleting files. Nicole lunged forward, but Derek was faster. He threw the phone hard against the patio stones, where it shattered impressively. Oops, he said flatly. That's destruction of evidence, my father noted calmly, still holding his own phone. I'm calling the police now. Don't try to leave. The next 20 minutes dissolved into chaos. Derek attempted to push past James, leading to a brief scuffle that ended with my best friend sitting on Derek until 2 police officers arrived. My wife sat at one of the party tables, her head in her hands, while her mother and sister tried to comfort her. Guests clustered in small groups, speaking in hushed, urgent tones about what they'd just witnessed. I felt numb, standing near the ruined remains of Derek's phone, trying to process everything that had just exploded across my anniversary celebration. A police officer, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes, approached me while her partner dealt with Derek. Sir, I'm going to need statements from you and your wife. And we'll need documentation of any financial transactions or access he had to your accounts. My wife's accounts, I corrected automatically. I don't, we keep our finances separate. The officer nodded. Even better for prosecution, actually. Clearer chain of unauthorized access. Has your wife noticed any other unusual activity? Accounts accessed, passwords changed, anything like that? I didn't know. I realized with a sinking feeling that I had no idea what Derek had really done, how deep his manipulation had gone, or how long my wife had been caught in his web of carefully constructed dependence. I looked over at her, sitting small and devastated at the table, and felt a complicated tangle of emotions. Anger at Derek, confusion about how this had happened, concern for my wife, and underneath it all, a whisper of something I didn't want to acknowledge: betrayal. She'd let this happen. Given him access, trusted him, relied on him to the point where he'd essentially infiltrated our marriage. And I'd been so busy being irritated and jealous that I'd missed how serious it was. The officer followed my gaze. You should talk to her. After we're done here. This kind of manipulation, it's more common than people think. Especially in professional settings. Predators identify targets who are stressed, overworked, looking for help. Then they make themselves essential. He called it project replacement, I said quietly. Yeah, I heard. The officer's expression hardened. We've seen cases like this before. Usually ends with financial fraud, sometimes identity theft, occasionally stalking. Your wife's lucky you forced the confrontation tonight. These situations can escalate dangerously if left unchecked. Lucky. It didn't feel lucky. It felt like my anniversary party had turned into a crime scene, my marriage exposed as something far more fragile than I'd realized, and the future suddenly uncertain in ways I'd never imagined. Derek was being escorted to the patrol car now, still protesting, still insisting he'd done nothing wrong. Guests were beginning to leave, offering awkward condolences and promises to call tomorrow. The caterers were quietly packing up food no one had appetite for anymore. And in the middle of the destroyed remains of our celebration, my wife finally looked up at me, tears streaming down her face, and mouthed 2 words: I'm sorry. The house felt cavernous at 3 in the morning. The cleaning service we'd hired had left hours ago, taking with them the physical remnants of the party, the rented tables and chairs, the leftover food, the decorations that now felt like artifacts from someone else's life. What they couldn't remove was the heaviness that hung in the air, thick and oppressive. My wife sat on the couch in the living room, still in her party dress, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders despite the warmth of the night. I'd made tea neither of us was drinking. The police had finally left around midnight, taking with them Derek's shattered phone as evidence and a thick folder of bank statements my wife had printed out, each page another revelation of unauthorized charges and manipulated expenses. "Say something," she finally whispered. "Please. Anything." I'd been leaning against the kitchen counter for the better part of an hour, trying to organize thoughts that refused to be organized. Anger, relief, confusion, hurt, they all swirled together into something I couldn't name. "I don't know what to say," I admitted. "Part of me wants to yell. Part of me wants to just hold you. Part of me wants to understand how this happened, how I didn't see it, how you didn't see it. I should have seen it." Her voice broke. All the signs were there. The way he always had opinions about everything. How he'd show up at the office early to help me prepare for meetings. The lunch invitations that turned into strategy sessions that turned into. She gestured helplessly. "I don't even know what they turned into. I thought I was networking. Building professional relationships. Being mentored by someone who believed in me." "He wasn't mentoring you. He was grooming you." The word hung between us, ugly and accurate. My wife flinched but didn't argue. "The police officer said the same thing," she said quietly. That's the word she used. Grooming. Like I was a child who didn't know better. "You're not a child." But he was calculating. Strategic. He found your weak spots and exploited them. I moved to sit in the chair across from her, needing to see her face. "He was right about one thing. I haven't been as supportive of your career as I should have been. I've been wrapped up in my own work, assuming you were fine because you never complained. I didn't notice you were stressed, overwhelmed, looking for help. That's not an excuse for what I allowed to happen." She pulled the blanket tighter. "I gave him my passwords. My credit card information. Access to my life. I had lunch with him multiple times a week and never mentioned it to you. Not because I thought I was doing anything wrong, but because—" She paused, struggling with the words. "Because some part of me knew you wouldn't like it. Knew it had crossed some line from professional to personal. And I did it anyway." The admission settled between us like a stone dropping into still water, creating ripples we'd be dealing with for a long time. "Were you attracted to him?" I had to ask, even though I wasn't sure I wanted the answer. She looked at me directly, her eyes red from crying. "No. God, no. That's what makes this so bizarre. I never saw him that way. Not once. He was just there. Helpful. Efficient. He made everything easier, and I was so tired of everything being hard. Work was demanding, the anniversary party felt overwhelming, and here was someone offering to handle things. It felt like a gift. It was a trap." "It was a trap," she agreed. "And I walked right into it. Kept walking even when you tried to point it out. Every time you mentioned being uncomfortable with how involved he was, I dismissed you. Told you that you were being insecure or territorial. Made you feel like the problem. I couldn't disagree with that. You did." "I'm sorry." The words came out raw. "I'm so sorry. For dismissing your concerns. For letting him manipulate me. For letting him infiltrate our marriage and our celebration and our life. For not seeing what was happening until you forced me to see it." "I didn't force anything. I just got angry and sarcastic." A ghost of a smile crossed her face. "Your anger saved me from something that could have gotten so much worse. The police said cases like this, they escalate. Financial fraud turns into identity theft. Control turns into stalking. He called it project replacement for a reason. He wanted to replace you." The words sent a chill down my spine. How far would it have gone if I hadn't blown up tonight? I don't know. And that terrifies me. We sat in silence for a while, processing. My phone buzzed, A text from James checking in, the fifth one tonight. My parents had called twice. Her sister had stopped by earlier with food we hadn't touched. The support was there, circling around us, but this was something we had to navigate ourselves. The detective said it could take months to sort out all the financial pieces, my wife said eventually. He opened credit cards in my name. Applied for a business loan using my information and his fake company. Made purchases I never authorized. The backup cake was just the tip of the iceberg. How much? Best guess right now? Nearly $40,000. Maybe more once the forensic accountant goes through everything. I felt sick. How did you not notice? Some of it was mixed into legitimate expenses. Party costs, work dinners, professional development. He was smart about it, never too much at once, always with a plausible explanation. And I was so busy, so distracted, so willing to let someone else handle the details. She trailed off. I made it easy for him. Stop. My voice came out sharper than intended. Stop blaming yourself for being a target. Yes, you made mistakes. Yes, you should have been more careful. But he's the predator here. He's the one who spent months systematically manipulating you, isolating you from me, making himself indispensable so he could exploit you. That's on him, not you. She started crying again, silently this time, tears just streaming down her face. I moved to the couch, pulling her against me. She buried her face in my shoulder, and I felt her whole body shake with sobs she'd been holding back for hours. I'm so ashamed, she whispered against my chest. Everyone saw. Our families, our friends, they all witnessed me being manipulated like an idiot. You're not an idiot. And honestly, I think people understood. Nicole tried to warn you. Other people probably saw signs but didn't know how to say anything. This wasn't some obvious affair, it was something more insidious. In some ways it feels worse than an affair, she admitted. He didn't want sex or romance. He wanted control. He wanted to own me, to replace you, to restructure my entire life around him. That feels more violating somehow. I held her tighter, feeling the weight of how close we'd come to something catastrophic. If I hadn't snapped at the party, if Derek had been more careful, if things had continued for another few months. What happens now? She asked. With us, I mean. Not the legal stuff, I know that's going to be a nightmare. But with us. It was the question I'd been avoiding, because I didn't have a clean answer. I don't know, I said honestly. I'm angry. I'm hurt that you didn't trust my instincts about him. I'm confused about how we got here. But I also know that I love you, and I don't want to lose you to my own pride or hurt feelings. I don't want to lose you either. She pulled back to look at me. I know I have a lot of work to do. Therapy. Probably. Better boundaries. Actually listening when you're concerned instead of dismissing you. Rebuilding trust. We both have work to do, I corrected. I need to be more present, more engaged with your career and your stress. We need to communicate better. Actually talk to each other instead of just coexisting in the same house. Our 10th anniversary party ending with my emotional manipulator getting arrested wasn't exactly the fresh start I'd envisioned. I almost laughed. No. But maybe it's the fresh start we needed. Everything's out in the open now. No more Derek lurking in the background. No more ignored warning signs. Just us, dealing with our actual problems instead of letting some predator exploit them. She rested her head against my shoulder again. I really am sorry. For all of it. I know. I'm sorry too. For not fighting harder to make you see what was happening. For letting my frustration turn into passive aggression instead of real conversation. Outside, the sky was beginning to lighten, the first hints of dawn creeping across the horizon. We'd been awake for nearly 24 hours, and exhaustion was finally winning over adrenaline. We should try to sleep, I said. I don't think I can. Then let's just lie down together. No sleep, just being together. Quietly. We moved to the bedroom, neither of us bothering to change out of our party clothes. We just lay on top of the covers, hands clasped between us, staring at the ceiling as morning light gradually filled the room. "Do you think we'll be okay?" she asked after a long silence. I thought about it, really thought about it. About the anger I still felt, the hurt that would take time to heal, the trust that needed rebuilding. But also about the 10 years we'd built together, the life we'd created, the fact that when push came to shove, we'd chosen each other over the chaos Derek had tried to create. "Yeah," I said finally. "I think we will. It's going to take work. Probably therapy. Definitely better communication. But we'll be okay. Promise. Promise." We lay there in the growing light, hands clasped, beginning the long process of healing. The party was over. Derek was gone, facing charges that would likely send him to prison. The manipulation was exposed. And in the wreckage of our anniversary celebration, we'd found something we'd been missing for a while: genuine honesty with each other. It wasn't the anniversary we'd planned. But maybe, in some strange way, it was the anniversary we needed. My phone buzzed again, the detective, requesting another meeting to go over evidence. My wife's phone chimed, her mother, checking in. The legal battle would be long. The financial recovery would be complicated. The emotional healing would take time. But we'd face it together. Actually together this time, not just two people living parallel lives while a predator tried to drive a wedge between us. "Happy anniversary," I whispered. She laughed, exhausted and genuine. "Worst party ever. Best ending though." "Best ending," she agreed. And as the sun rose on the day after our 10th anniversary, we finally slept, still in our party clothes, still processing everything that had happened, but together. Truly, honestly together. The backup guy was gone. And we were going to be okay.